ocean beds, the revenue from turbines, you won't find the media debate. The fracking crown estate. Hotels and whole estates and minerals beneath your feet. Think they own your fate. The fracking crown estate. The shale, the gas, pollution, selling our futures on the cheap. Think they own me and you, mate. The fracking crown estate.
This weekend's been different, hasn't it? We've been saturated by UK nationalism, Union Jacks everywhere, wall-to-wall coverage. I wasn't sure if I was living in North Korea, to be honest, but obviously not in Cardiff. As a Republican, I felt particularly challenged. What do I do? What do we do as Republicans to this onslaught? Because that's the only way to describe it. I would say what we must do really is have a more intelligent fight, as much as we possibly can, and actively promote the Republican agenda, because I represent a working class estate, council estate, Fairwater and Pentrabane, and if you tell people there you're a Republican, they don't really know what you mean, and that's something we've got to get over. That's something we need to conquer. We need to give the arguments for merit, democracy, against the outdated feudal model that we have in the UK. We need to connect as well. We need to connect with people and explain why the status quo is so bad. We're in recession. How much money has been spent this weekend? On what? On what? It's gone up in the air. And yet, next week and the week after, we'll have to make cuts. Or we'll be told to make cuts. Pensions. Now, who knows here? I came here last year, a fantastic speech by Republic.
Thank you.
Lady from Republic.
Suzanne,
fantastic speech, what a fantastic woman. Really informed me. I didn't know that intestate pensions went to Prince Charles until I came here last year. I didn't know until then that they had a kickback from every windmill that went up. And let's localise it, let's look at Cardiff. Let's look at this, what this council's doing here, this Labour Council and the local development plan. They will be building on greenfield sites, and who's going to make the profits? The Earl of Plymouth Estates. Why do they own our land? I agree with Sarah, what we need to do is we need some civic republicanism, and we need to seize we need to get the cultural and social hegemony for our arguments. And one thing that I'm going to be doing over the next 12 months is organising as many street parties in this city as possible, not on St David's Day, the day after, Saturday, March the 2nd, wherever you live. Make sure you organise a St David's Day street party, because we want to combat this Union Jack in Wales. I want to follow on with what Sarah said earlier, and Leon also, one of the organisers. I'm not a pacifist. I believe we do need an army. If you look at what's happening with the fascist forces in Eastern Europe now, I believe we need the means to be able to defend ourselves. But any Welsh armed force should be controlled by a Welsh democratic government. And they shouldn't be in Iraq, and they shouldn't be in Afghanistan. And why on earth should the armed forces have the right in this country, in the UK, in Wales, in England, Scotland alone, to advertise to our youth, to advertise the British Armed Forces? Why is that? I'll be signing a petition, I'll be raising council's questions on the council, and I'll be asking Leon and Sarah to put a public question, because my daughter goes to school. I don't want her being taught about the British Army and being encouraged to go abroad and bomb people and shoot people. What for? And put herself in danger. I'll tell you what they should be doing. They should be telling people what it's like to come back without a limb, to have to apply for benefits, to be denied benefits, to not to be able to have housing, to living with post-traumatic stress disorder, also being a soldier on the front line, coming back and being told you can't see a child, because in the British courts, a legitimate reason to stop a father seeing his child is that he's fought a war, because it means he's prone to violence. And can you imagine coming back from Iraq and not being able to see your child? Now, I'm going to ask, and I'm going to write to every single AM actually, and ask them to put a statement of opinion into our assembly in Wales, because that's what we need.
Yeah!
Forget Westminster, let's do it in Cardiff, yeah?
Yeah!
Events, educate, let's take civic republicanism forward. I tell you what, they'll finish on this because I'm optimistic, because in my area there are only 2 street parties, and actually nobody cared about the Jubilee. It was a day off and it was a day to celebrate. And I tell you what, there's a vacuum, and what we need to do as Republicans is fill that gap, and we'll do that on March the 2nd.
Propaganda. Just after Princess Di died, I think the royal family was almost on its ass. It was, as Lois said, your royalists were even thinking, ooh, we've had enough of this royal family. But it just wasn't enough to give that death knell. But the propaganda machine has been in full swing. We can't change that. We haven't really got our own propaganda machine. You've got to rely on word of mouth. Yeah? You've got to tell everyone that you know, everything that you know about what you know. And that's the only way. Yeah? We've got to educate our youth to see past the propaganda of this most privileged family on earth. Yeah? So the only way you can beat the propaganda war is to do it from the bottom up. The royal estates and the crown estates, like I said, they're wealth, they're massive wealth, but they own the crown estates. So when they're throwing these windmills up, wind farms up everywhere, and then they're making money off them. Yeah, so it's a win-win situation for them. You know, it's something like a tiny percentage of the people of the country, and I say that as Britain, own all of Britain. It's wrong. The biggest point to me, as a Cymro, as a Welshman, is simply they're not mine. They don't represent me. My royal family is dead in the dirt. I wouldn't like to see. Some Welshmen want to see. Some Welshmen would like to see a rehash of our own royal family. Fine, we can debate that if we have independence. It's not on the table at the moment. Yeah, my royal family is dead and done. Now, here's the most important part. The most important part, and the reason I've come down here today, is to rub shoulders with like-minded people. But again, I'm preaching to the converted. You already agree with most of what I've said. If you don't, tell me after. The important reason that we're here is that the special branch operatives that are sitting amongst you can shuffle uncomfortably and report back to their masters. Those little buggers are still here. Come here.
Thank you. I don't have to four-line poem by Adrian Mitchell, who some of us may know, fantastic poet who's no longer with us. And he said, Prince Harry is back from Afghanistan. He flew out a twerp, he came back a man. Do we feel safer now he is back? Or should all the royals be sent to Iraq? That was, thank you. Adrian Mitchell, great poet. So this poem starts with 2 facts. The starting salary of a British soldier is £14,000. And as we all probably know, because we're all great Republicans, it cost £38.5 million to run the monarchy for a year, a couple of years back. So, keys to your kingdom for Reg Keys. Privilege provides protection from all your bombs and your hate, and affluence will buy you abstention from the battlefields of the occupied state. An accident of birth or a victim of geography. The rules are not the same for soldiers Keys, Tom and Wales, Windsor, Prince Harry and his stranger Harry's father and grandfather parade like pariahs on Poppy Day, drenched in medals, splattered in ribbons like staple cadavers. As Tom's father only weighs 1, the memory of his murdered son, where no tomorrows grow today, and the halls gape like a cenotaph Sunday. So, pride is indifferent to suffering, and suffering must just be for the chosen, or so we are told or led to believe. As in a coalition of the willing. Excuse me. is only those chosen ripe for the killing. And Wilfred, your words stick stitched into my throat. 90 years ago you wrote pro patria more, the old lie, their old lie. And you warned us, yet no one heard. And your words drifted like ash in the November sky. Because now, today, still, young men and women are sent to another trench, in another country, for another man's pride, to fight another man's war. But only if you don't matter to the country you're fighting for. Thank you. And also over the weekend, I suppose, like many of us here, I was found to believe, I was made to feel, I suppose, that I didn't belong anywhere, that everything I thought was irrelevant, I suppose. So it was nice to come here and hear like-minded souls. And this poem is a bit about those sort of issues. It's called 2 + 2 = 5. Because it is. Because nurses expect too much. Because children shouldn't have equal chances. Because the Queen is economically beneficial. Because Twitter isn't for twats. Because priority queuing outside exclusive nightclubs is indeed a reason to join them. Because Simon Cowell really does know his music. Because Jeremy Clarkson is my hero. Because Michael Gove is rather dashing and does care about fairness in education. Because Nick Clegg does speak. Because S4C is in tune with modern Wales. Because I do love McDonald's. Because the Go Compare advert is fucking genius. Because the Tesco Club card points do make a difference in my purchase power. Because Apple have to have new products very similar to their previous ones. Because Wonga.com is a lifesaver on Fridays. Because UGI cinemas really are value for money. Because bankers are the engines of society. Because 3D films are the way forward in cinematic viewing. Because God, Allah and all the other ones really are merciful beings. Because doormen are really in the job for the health and safety aspects. Because burqas are a woman's right. Because George Osborne is human. Because Ant and Dec are two people. Because Kindles make great reading fun. Because opera really does speak for me in my class. Because rock concerts are better viewed through a camera phone screen interface. Because the Royal Wedding Jubilee will make us all better people. Because Bin Laden did have human rights. Because Tony Blair, peace be upon the cunt, did not lie. Did not lie. So yes, oh yes, so yes. 2 + 2 = 5. Thank you very much.
She did an excellent speech last year, and looking forward to her speech this year. Suzanne Campbell. Thank you. Very well, Suzanne.
On the way up, we got engaged with, we stopped for a coffee and services, and there was about 8 policemen, weren't there, on motorbikes. and they were having coffee. So we thought we'd get warmed up getting into a debate with them. And we discovered that they were actually fairly monarchist. So we gave them some food for thought, and one of them said, I don't want to hear anything because I know all I need to know. So I said, right, did you know that in certain instances the Queen and Prince Charles actually receive the surpluses of workers' pension funds? And he said, no, I didn't know that. I said, what up, you didn't know that? I thought you said you knew it all. But one of the things that we found very upsetting was the number of people who have closed minds. The number of people who said, I don't want to know, I adore her, I just don't want to know. One of the things that we find it very upsetting that we're presented constantly with the idea from monarchists that Britain will be nothing, absolutely nothing without the royal family. And I find that highly insulting, because what I'd like to ask tonight is there anyone here in this room, and I'll give you a fiver if you can come up with it, anybody here who can actually tell me of one piece of legislation that benefits us today, us the common man, one piece of law or rights that have come because the monarchy have campaigned for it or have given it to us. Because I can't think of one single piece of legislation that has empowered us or given us our human rights here in Britain today that's come from them. Every human right that we've got, every piece of legislation that we've got has come because the common man has fought for it, against them, despite them, certainly not because of them. I find it upsetting that so many of the schools still allow the teachers to whip up the idea that that we must put the Queen and the royal family on a pedestal. It's wrong. It should be neutral in schools, and or otherwise parents should have the right to say, I don't want my children joining the gang and going out and standing in the rain for an hour and waving at somebody who's gone past in 2 seconds who shouldn't be there at all. And I think what we're up against is the system. But one of the things that does encourage me today is the fact that up until now we've had centuries of brainwashing, centuries of being told what we're expected to believe. And centuries of decades of the BBC giving full priority to the indoctrination that comes from the palace and keeping the Republican voice to almost a pittance. But that's going to change, because now we have got very powerful weapons. We've got the internet, we've got YouTube, we've got Twitter, we've got Facebook, and they're not going to be able to keep our voice silent any longer. If it can work for China, it's going to work for us here. And goodness knows we need it. That whilst we are totally fed up with the whole viewing that we've had, not just for the last 4 days, but for weeks and weeks and weeks, we are also very optimistic in what we're seeing around us. And whilst I appreciate that we have got Republic Wales and a specific agenda here, we're also Republic UK, because we don't just want to get rid of a Prince of Wales, we want to get rid of the whole damn lot of them. Thank you very much.
Yeah!